came forward, all shy and mincing, and gave a little gasp to signify to him how formidable he was. He had rat skins and coon skins dangling from his ears, and his third eye was rolling around like a spinning top. "Mr. McGonagall," said Oonagh. "The great McGonagall," said the giant, and then asked if he was in the house of Finn. "Indeed you are," said Oonagh, and gestured towards a chair to make him welcome. "You're Mrs. Finn, I suppose," said the giant. "I am," said she, "and a proud wife at that." "Thinks he's the toughest giant in Ireland," said McGonagall. "It's a proven fact," said his wife proudly. "There's a man within 3 feet of you that's very desirous of having a tussle with him," said McGonagall, and he looked around in order to sniff out his rival. "Is he hiding from me?" he asked. "Hiding?" said Oonagh. "He left here frothing. He's gone out to find you, and it's lucky for you didn't meet him, or you'd be a dead man now, your head on his pike as an ornament." "You vixen," said McGonagall, and he roared with rage, but Oonagh was in no way dismayed. "He's twice your height and much better built," said she. "You don't know my strength," said McGonagall. "In that case, would you turn the house?" said Oonagh. The giant stood up, put his middle finger in his mouth, thought for an instant, then went out, put his arms around the house, picked it up, and put it facing a different way. Finn, in his cradle, was now facing in a different direction, and there was sweat pouring out of him with heat and nerves. "You're a handy giant," said Oonagh, and then told him that she was short of water, and that there was a fine spring under some rocks, and that if he could split the rocks, she'd be most obliged. He took his axe out from under his leather apron, struck at the rocks, and tore a cleft that was hundreds of feet deep. Oonagh began to have doubts. "Come in and eat," said she, and added that although her husband would make mince of him, the laws of hospitality must be observed. She placed before him 6 cakes of the bread and a mound of newly churned butter, and she sat down pretending to be polite. He put one of the cakes in his mouth, took a bite, and let out the most terrible growl. "What kind of bread is this?" he said fiercely. "Fresh bread," said Oonagh. Cool as a breeze. "And here are 2 teeth of mine gone," said he, as he hauled out 2 big molars that were grey in colour and shaped like drinking horns. "Why," said Oonagh, "that's Finn's bread, the only bread that he eats. Him and the child there." At that she offered another cake. As soon as he put it into his mouth, another great crack was heard, and he let out a yell far fiercer than the first, so that the baby mewled. "Thunder and giblets," said he, as he pulled out 2 more teeth with bits of gum on them. "Well, Mr. McGonagall," said Oonagh, "if you can't manage the bread, don't bother with it, but don't be disturbing my child." "Mammy, Mammy, can I have some bread?" said the baby from the cradle, and its voice gave McGonagall a start. Oonagh very cleverly handed a cake that had no griddle in it, and McGonagall was flabbergasted as he watched the child gobble it up. "I'd like to take a glimpse at that lad in the cradle," said he. "Certainly," said Oonagh, and she told the little baby to get up and prove himself the worthy child of his father. Now the baby stood up, looked at McGonagall and said, "Are you as strong as me?" "Thundering giblets," said McGonagall, "how dare you insult me?" "Can you squeeze water out of a stone?" said the child, and he put a stone into McGonagall's hand. McGonagall squeezed and squeezed, but not a drop of liquid came out. "Watch me," said the child, and he put his hands under the covers, took out one of the white curds that looked exactly like a stone, and squeezed until the liquid came out in a little shower from his hands. My daddy is training me, said he, but I have a lot to learn yet. McConigle was speechless. I'll go back to sleep now, said the child, but I'd hate to waste my time on anyone that hasn't my daddy's strength, that can't eat daddy's bread or squeeze water out of a stone. Then he slipped down, and as Oonagh was pulling the covers up over him, he raised his index finger and gave a word of warning to McConigle. I'd be off out of here if I were you, as it's in flummery my father will have you. What he says is a fact, said Oonagh, and went on to remind McConigle that if the child was that strong, he could only guess at the immensity of the father. Will you let me feel the teeth of that infant? Said he, still in a quandary. By all means, said Oonagh, and she took his hand and she stuck it straight into Finn's mouth, explaining that the child's best teeth were in the back of his head. McConigle was amazed to find a baby with a full set of grinders, and more amazed that he felt himself snap, and then felt his finger detach itself. And when he pulled out his hand, there was a big wound where his finger of knowledge had been. Finn had eaten it. So shocked was he, and so horror-stricken, that he fell down. Finn rose from the cradle and laid roundly on the monster with his bare hands. He could easily have killed him with his sword, but McConigle begged for his life, and Finn, being a chivalrous hero, gave it to him. After that, McConigle made his peace, picked up his teeth and his accoutrements, and promised to go home to Scotland and never set foot in Ireland again.